Good morning, everyone. We hope you had a wonderful holiday these past few weeks. We are Aero Capital Partners, and today we are looking to provide you with a solution to your current situation. Today, we are looking at going over a brief background of our qualifications as well as our evaluations. We are hoping that we can provide you with a summary of the situation and how we are going to go about things, as well as the evaluations that we have looked at with the data that has been provided. We'd also like to provide you with a recommendation over all of the calculations we have done, and we'd also like to give you what your next step should look like based off of our team's calculations. Aero Capital Partners has been founded in Cleveland, Ohio in 2011 by my partners and I. We've also completed 50 transactions annually, as well as maintaining $3 billion in deal volume. We are very focused and consumer-driven. We are focused on the industry as well as our consumers, and we have handcrafted our buyer network so that we are benefiting our clients. We also maintain a strong reputation, being named as Investment Bank of the Year for the year 2022 by the Mergers and Acquisitions, as well as maintaining our rank as a Fortune 100 company. And now I'd like to introduce my team. Right here we have Cam Shirky. He is our Director of Leveraged Finance. Standing next to him is Jared Zinti, our Director of Financial Analysis. To the right, all the way over here, is Nathan Moore, who is our Director of Market Strategy. And then to my right is David Moss, who is our Acquisition Liaison, and myself, the founder and CEO of Aero Capital Partners. Now, I would like to turn it over to David Moss.
Madison, before you get into the presentation, do you guys have any particular industry experience in the laminate industry?
Can you say that again?
Do you have experience in this industry?
Yes, sir. We do have experience. We have worked on lots of cases pertaining to this.
Okay, so the summary of the situation, we got presented from Larry's Laminate saying that the founder wants to exit the strategy and is interested in private equity. And we analyzed that option, and we also found out that he wants the management team to also buy it out because they presented them with that option. So today we're going to discuss the two different options of that scenario, and I'm going to turn it over to Ken.
Good morning. So we looked at the company Larry's Laminate, and we did two different analyses. We did a DCF and an LBO. For the LBO, we did 9.9 times EBITDA, which was a average of the precedent transactions. And then we got the DCF, and we found a fair value range which we believe is acceptable for your guys' company.
Just a quick question for you, Cameron. Yeah. I'm just curious, why did you not discount your leverage buyout exit or your valuation when precedent transactions are generally at least 3 to 4 times the size of our company? Don't you think we should be slightly discounted to a $100 million EBITDA company?
I'm going to pass this question to Jared.
Could you restate that?
Sure. I'm just looking at the precedent transactions in the back, and generally I think they're much larger than our business, right, at 10 million in EBITDA. So I understand the average EV to EBITDA is in the high 9s, low 10s, but we've got an implied average EBITDA of 63 million, which is 6 times the size. So just curious as to how you got to 10 times, thinking that valuation would be discounted just given the size and scale of our company.
So the discount rate for the DCF was calculated using the working average cost of capital. And yeah, the 9.9 was solely based off of those precedent transactions.
No, thank you.
Okay, so our option analysis is this. So we evaluated the option to sell to private equity, which is Stepstone. So they have really good experience with achieving terminal growth. That's one of the reasons why we want to, we're analyzing the Stepstone. Also, they will also eliminate the existing debt with Larry's Laminate Company. But the disadvantages I see is that considering that Larry hasn't been with considering that Larry hasn't had an active role in the company, he would actually have to stay active role in the company for about 7 years. He would actually have to stay 1 to 2 more years longer post-transaction. And also, John and Sheila which also John and Sheila has 30% of the company as the CEO, and then the CFO, yeah. And John and Sheila would have to put most of their shares into the transaction of the new company. So the second option would be the current management, or the second option would be selling to the current management, which is a pro because the current management has a lot of experience with the company already, and they know, and they say that they have a nice growth plan with the company too. Also, but the disadvantages with that would be that the management team just doesn't have enough capital to raise to actually go through with the deal. So
I have a quick question on that. I've heard that when management is invited to invest in a new company with a private equity buyer, that over 4 to 5 years, their investment can double or triple its size. Have you heard that as well?
Yeah, and that's one of the that is like one of the advantages to sell to the private equity, but the CEO in that sense would not be like fully running the company because the case also made mention that he wants to have his own company, and private equity would have a majority over that.
But in a sense, he's an owner in the new company, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that in this sense, like you said, that in long term, they could double their investment. And I know in the case, John and Sheila were open to putting if they sold it to current management, which would be John and Sheila, they were open to putting their share, or their part of the portion back into the company. I think as in short term, this could be a disadvantage for John and Sheila and create tension within the current management. So we saw that as Larry wants to get out immediately. We just didn't know if that would be kind of in the best interest of the company.
Out of these three, do you have a recommendation?
The next slide.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, then our third option is do not sell and be able to maintain current ownership, and will be no need to sell to the employees. There's an advantage and there's a disadvantage, no opportunity growth, and Larry would have to find somebody else to take over.
So our recommendation to you would be go with Stepstone, the private equity. We believe it kind of fits the best interest of everyone. It allows Larry to do a hands-off advisory / consulting role for 1 to 2 years, while also kind of promoting within the two, Sheila and John. But we also project that the company, the private equity firm, will be able to afford the higher end of your off asking price because they have a 13 to 14 EBITDA range of purchasing. While we believe in the next 5 years, it's good for everyone because the private equity firm, with the success they've had, we'll believe they'll be able to have an internal rate of return of 26.2%, which is where they want it.
Next is going to be kind of the next steps in the process. So obviously the first step in the phase is important. That's obviously engaging in both sides of the deal, or the bids I should say, with Stepstone and current management. It's important to kind of see both sides where Larry wants to eventually sell the company. Obviously he, in the case, it presented that he cares about his employees very well, and I'll allude to that here in the next couple steps. But it's also very critical to engage both sides. The next step would be to offer site visits. Now, this isn't really prevalent for the current management as they are part of the staff at Larry's Laminate, but we think it's necessary for Stepstone to come out to the site of the organization and also see kind of what they would be willing to buy Also in that, the due diligence. So this is really just a detailed examination of the company, internally and externally. It's very important for StepStone to kind of see like the financial aspect as well as sustainability within Larry's laminate. And, due diligence could be like SEC filings, things like that. And they're supposed to give any information that StepStone does ask for. Next, we agreed that the third step would be to kindly decline the bid from the current management. As the previous slide, we did recommend to sell to the private equity firm StepStone. The next step, which is probably one of the most important steps, is negotiate a final offer / price from StepStone. Now, obviously, we did give you guys a fair value range from 135 million to 141.5. We believe that is a reasonable price for Larry's laminate to sell, and as well as, and on top of the negotiating, Larry did emphasize the importance of his employees. So we agreed that talking to StepStone to form a contract that involves the employees to maintain job security for the first year, and upon that, after that first year, StepStone is at their will to kind of work around the employees and move people where they see necessary to help grow their future with that company. And then lastly, the last and final step is to finalize the transaction with StepStone and then announce the decision to the public.
Do you have precedent transactions that you guys have done where you've increased value by 60 million through a process? Just because StepStone had bid me in 7 to 8 times, which would be closer to 80 million. So how are we going to get to the 140? Just curious.
Yeah, it's about a 2-turn pickup, right? The 9.9 entry multiple in the LBO model versus what's on the bid that's on the table. So how do you get them to move? I mean, it's not a numbers question really. It's more a process question. So if we hire you as our advisor,
Right.
what kind of steps do you take? How do you encourage competition? Just how do you get them to come back with a better bid for us?
I feel like you could use several different styles. You're talking as in like the StepStone to come back to accept the offer, is what you're saying?
Yeah, I think we're just trying to bridge what they've already proposed versus what you're saying our business is worth to make sure that we're not leaving money out of the table.
Right. Okay. So I know as in the laminate industry, I know that in 2027, up to 2027, it does have a expected growth rate, I believe, to 1.2%. Obviously, the laminate industry is very prevalent, and you see laminate everywhere you go, and I think that's also a key point just to talk to StepStone that the industry is rapidly growing in the next coming years, and I think that purchasing this would be a great investment for their company.
So I haven't been through the appendix. Maybe that football field or your valuation range is based on our StepStone's exit as opposed to entry. I think where we're just going is it's 90-ish million in value today, but your football field goes from 130 to 140. Is that 130 to 140 driven on the 2027 number?
Yeah, so that's based off of our, okay, so when we did our 2022 numbers, we actually did come up with about 90, and we also projected out to be about 120 or 135 in the 5-year projections, because we're using a 5-year projection, and that's what we're showing.
Got it. So the football field is showing what StepStone's exit's going to be, not my value as a seller.
Correct, yes.
Thank you.
Have you thought about, your recommendation is, and if I understand the steps, you're going to tell the private equity group that we've had discussions with, you're going to negotiate with them.
Right.
And then you're going to tell the COO and the CFO that we're not going with them.
Correct.
Well, 2 questions. One, how do we keep them out of the loop? Because I'm not active in the business. And they have to, all the questions that a private equity group will ask are going to be directed to them. The private equity group, more likely than not, only cares that I own the majority of the shares and they want me to get the hell out.
Right.
And then the second thing, have you thought about, if we're dealing with one, if your recommendation is to go with one private equity group, why not go with 20?
Right.
And open the field a little bit, so you create a little, it's like selling a house, you create a little competition.
Right.
and maybe you guys can increase the value to all the shareholders.
Well, that's an excellent point. Unfortunately, we really didn't kind of evaluate 20 more private equity firms.
No, I'm not saying evaluate them,
Right, we're offering like.
as part of your process.
Right, yeah. That is a great point. That's a very excellent point. In terms of John and Sheila, like we did say, yeah, Larry hasn't been within the company for the past several years. He hasn't had hands-on, and that is important to keep John and Sheila in the loop. I do believe that it might create tension between, because obviously they want to sell or buy the business themselves, but they're also going to talk to the competing company. So we think that we're going to ask Larry to kind of have a more hands-on role in selling the company, as in, because, like I said, the tension that it creates between John and Sheila as well as the private equity, we think that kind of keeping them separate but in the loop as well, just a little bit, that we think that would be better for the company.
And do you have a sense for how long from a
Sorry, yes.
time perspective?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't, we roughly from the bids to put in to finalize the transaction, roughly about 4 months.
Okay, thank you.
Leave them, this is their appendix with all of our graphs.
We don't need to show this?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, that's it.
And that is it.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.